Alright, you guys, so here is the Algebra 1 SOL. This is what it's going to look like this. We're at question number 1, but for this video, I will go ahead and start with question number 36. This is the first time that they had something like this where they kind of had this section right here where it didn't really have a question. Okay, so we have this. Let's go ahead and read through it. So we have the principal at Washington High School. So there's it's a word problem. Investigated the relationship between. So when I'm talking about relationship, I'm talking about an x and a y. Okay, so in Algebra 1, we look at x and y relationship. So what is the relationship? We have the relationship between student cell phone usage, so how much students use their cell phone versus the grade point average. Okay, then we want to see if there's a relationship between those two things. So here's a table of values, and it's average number of hours per day that students use their cell phone right here, and their corresponding GPA. So this student who uses their cell phone for 1 hour has a GPA of 3.8 out of 4. So that's a pretty high GPA. And then let's see, if a student uses 6 hours of their phone, their GPA is 2.7, and so on. So this is the data that they collected. All right, so let me go to the next page. This is the next page. Oh, okay, yeah. It says here, select 2 questions the principal could have used to investigate the relationship. So he obviously, when he did the survey, he had to go and ask the students certain questions. He asked them 2 questions. Which 2 questions do you think he asked? Well, the first one says, what is your current GPA? Well, that's obviously one of the questions he would ask, because that's what the data he's collecting. So he's going to ask what the GPA is. And then let's see, next one. How many cell phones does your family own? I don't think he would need to ask that question. How long do you need to study to raise your GPA? He's not really looking at how long they studied. He's just looking at how long they used their phone per day. What was the last phone number you texted or called? How many minutes do you spend on your cell phone on a typical day? That's definitely the other one. Okay, so read the question and then see how to answer it. Next one. So it looks like it's the same data. Complete the sentences. All right, the principal created a scatter plot of the data collected. So this word scatter plot right here, I don't know if I can highlight it. Let's see if I can. Yeah, I can highlight it. So this word scatter plot, it just means taking this data and putting it in Desmos. So to put it in Desmos, here's where you can find Desmos graphing calculator. I'm going to go ahead and open it. Now, when I opened it, doesn't look like it's similar to what we've been using in our classroom, but we can go ahead and just change the size of it so we can, work with it better. But let's see. So I'm going to go ahead and put this data here. I'm going to press the plus button, table, and here's my table of values. I think I will go ahead and make it a little bigger. All right, so my x values are 1, 2, 2.5. It's kind of inconvenient, right? But this is how you're going to have to do it on your SOL. You probably already put your data in. Okay, 2.5. Okay, maybe that's better. 3, 3.5, 4, 4.5, 6, 6, 6.5, and so on. So that is your X column, and now I'm going to go ahead and do the Y column. the y column, make sure that all the numbers add up, or are matched up, I should say, 3.8 and so on. Three point five goes to 3.2. And as I'm graphing it, hopefully you've seen that it's actually plotting those specific points that I have. For example, 3.5 goes to 3.2 is that data right there. Okay. 4 goes to 3.2, 4.5. I'm just being very careful here because one number could change everything. Okay, as I'm typing this, let me also explain that we're going to have to kind of decide if this is a linear data, if this data has a linear relationship, or does it have a quadratic. Linear relationship is basically the points consistently go down or go up. And so far, looks like the higher time they spend on their phones, the lower their GPA is. And yep, that looks very linear to me. So we did a scatter plot. We put all the points on here. And let's read the question. It says, the principal created a scatter plot of the data. Based on the data, a linear function would best represent the relationship, right? And then the specific data shows that points to the right of the vertex. Well, first of all, since this is a linear, it does not have a vertex. A vertex would be something like a quadratic, okay? So only a quadratics have a vertex. But since this is not a quadratic, it does not have a vertex. So I wouldn't choose the one with the vertex. Points, let's look at the next one. Points on the left of the vertex, again, it does not have a vertex. The points follow a pattern that is consistent with more time spent on the phone, resulting in lower GPA. That's exactly what's going on, right? The higher number they have on their phone usage, the lower the GPA keeps dropping lower. So that is my next one. All right. It says the principal at Washington High School investigated the relationship. It's the same stuff. All right. The correlation coefficient of the curve of best fit is negative 0.9921. Okay. So the correlation coefficient basically tells me how much does it fit a linear relationship. Okay. So let me go ahead and plug the linear regression in here and then show you where that came from. So linear is y1 regressed against ax1 plus b, and then my correlation coefficient is at negative 0.9921. So this basically tells me that it is a strong relationship. Now, is it a positive? Is it a weak? Is it a no relationship? It just means that this is a strong relationship. Now, what part of this makes it a strong relationship? Oops, sorry, I did not. Oh, I guess I can highlight it. But anyway, that looks, I don't even know how to. Okay. It just means that it is a 99% match. And they put in like a little negative to show that it is going down, I think. But in general, because it is a 99%, it just means that it is a strong linear relationship. Okay. All right, next one. So same thing, and then another question. The principal of Lincoln High School. Now, let me make a note here. This data that we have here is for Washington High School, but we're looking at a different high school. So that there's another principal who collected representative sample data and determined. So he did the same type of research, and he determined that this is the line that best models the relationship Y, represents a GPA X, and represents the number of students spent on the cell phone. So the principal at Washington, he did the regression like this. And then the principal at Lincoln, he did everything, but they only tell us that this is the equation that he has. So let me go ahead and plug that equation in. Negative. There's a negative right there. I wish they wrote it better, but this is how negatives look on your SOL. Plus, where'd it go? Oh, it's right there. .8. Okay, so the graph in the blue is the Lincoln, the second principal, and the graph in the red is the Washington High School principal. Okay, so let's now look at it. Look at what the question is asking. The slope of the curve of best fit is steeper for Lincoln, or first of all, it's asking you to find 3 statements. Okay, it's asking you to find 3 statements that are true. So let's look at the slope. The slope of the curve is steeper for Lincoln, or is it steeper for Washington? So for steeper, it just means that it goes down faster. Okay, it's just that's how steeper is. So for example, the one in the red, which was Washington High School, it's going down slowly, but it looks like for Lincoln High School, it's going down faster. Okay, so that means that the Lincoln, not that one, not that one. For Lincoln High School, the slope is steeper. The second answer will come from these two. A student at Lincoln High School who uses a cell phone for 0 hours would typically have a GPA of 3.8. A student at Washington High School who uses a cell phone at 0 hours would typically have a GPA of 3.8. So let's see. Since we have the graph, 0 hours is X is the hours, so 0 hours. The first principal at Washington High School has it at about has a 4.1 GPA, but then the Lincoln High School, the second one, has a 3.8. So remember you just have to keep track of which graph represents which high school. So the second one was the Lincoln High School. Okay. Last one, at both schools there's a negative relationship between the average number of hours per day a student uses a cell phone and their GPA. At both schools there's a positive relationship between the average number per day a student. Well, definitely there is a negative relationship, right? So hours per day uses their cell phone and their GPA. Okay. Well, why is it negative? Because their graphs are just going down. So, yeah, that's it. It says the principal of Washington High School so this part is the same. Which conclusion about the relationship between student cell phone and GPA is best supported by this data? So we already know that the more hours the student use their cell phone, the less their GPA is. So increased cell phone usage prevents students from getting good grades. Maybe, because your grades do impact your GPA, but I don't think that's exactly accurate on this. Decreased cell phone usage causes students to perform better in school. I could say this one, yes, that sounds about right too, but it's just all about the wording. We want to be more specific, okay? The more time students spend on their cell phones, the lower their GPA. Yes, that one. There's no relationship between student cell phone and GPA. Well, that's not true at all. So it's this one, okay? All right, guys, thanks.